nothing comes easy in life. Like you have to put in the work. You gotta sweat, you gotta grind it out in order to get good. And if you're at a point where you don't want to do that, then hopefully you can find a different avenue that you can take. But in my experience, man, we have people that are on the job that unfortunately they're on the job still because they haven't been pushed to that limit. They haven't been tested. I don't want my time to come where I'm tested and I'm not prepared for it.
Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Relentless Rejects podcast. This is episode 13. 13 is my favorite number. It doesn't have to be yours, but it's mine, and that's all that matters. My guest today is Danny B from Student of the Game podcast. We're going to get into his platform and everything that he's doing to make the fire service better. But first, let's bring Danny B in. How you doing, man?
Good, sir. How are you, pal?
We talked before the podcast. I just got off shift this morning, and man, I don't know what it is. I forget the quote, but it's something of like, when you're like an into the job fireman, firefighter, no matter what rank you are, it is significantly harder to be in the fire service than someone that just maybe treats the fire service like just a normal job.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People that just show up on shift and then they just run the calls and whatever the company officer says they're doing for the day, that's what they're doing. And then when they're off, they're checked out. But I think for guys like you and me, it's a constant grind. Like, where can I get better? Who can I network with? What articles do I need to be reading? What podcasts do I need to listen to? And it's a bit draining. I mean,
It
do you
is.
feel that too? Yeah.
No, it is. It is. So, I mean, I'll say this. So, I am not like into the job as I know other people, like people that know nozzle coefficients, things of that nature. But one thing about me is when I show up to work, I show up to work. I come into work expecting, hey, you know what, man, today might be that day. We might get that structure fire. We might run multiple calls, right? We might run that CPR, we might run that pin in. But what I can't stand are people that show up to work and it's like, what can this place do for me today? I will do the bare minimum, but I want to receive all the gifts. Like that's what I don't like. And I'm not trying to come off and I don't want to try to come off like I'm, being condescending or whatnot, but like literally we show up to work, we should be in the mindset of I'm here. Like when I show up to work, it's all right. I always look at the rig real quick, put my stuff on the rig, check my air pack, make sure my gear's good. Check my side of the truck. If we're full, I let my other firefighter, he does the driver's side, I do the officer side. Once everything's squared away, I stretch and then I start my PT work. Because the department gives us an hour to PT. They pay us, they allow us an hour of PT. I'm going to take full advantage of that. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to just twiddle my thumbs. Like, I'm going to put in some sort of work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and like I said, like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that person that does that. But man, when I'm there for 24 hours, I'm there for 24 hours.
For sure.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a mental, emotional, and physical drain because that's what you're doing when you clock in. Like it's 100%. That's what you're committed to. That's what you took the oath for. That's what you owe the community, right? That's the mindset.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, we're going to touch a little bit more on that, but I know you told me in your bio, you weren't always that guy.
No.
So what was your journey of getting into the fire service, and talk about your first few years, and like, when was that moment for you when you were like, I need to give more?
Sure. So, unlike all the guests that I've listened to and I've been fortunate to interview, I don't come from a family of firefighters. I never grew up wanting to be a fireman. I actually wanted to do film, film and TV work. So, I lived in New York originally. So while in New York, in order to graduate, you need community service hours. So my mom asked a friend what I could do, and she's like, have him go to a local firehouse, clean, and he'll get his community service hours to graduate. She was like, hey, go do that. All right, cool. I went over there, went to the local fire department. I told them what I was there for. They're like, here's the application, fill it out, come back, and then we'll go from there. All right, cool. Fill it out. It was the next Monday. I fill it out, drop it off, and then they're like, all right, come back next Monday, and we'll review it and go over whatever. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like I said, oblivious, dude. So I go back the next Monday. There's a bunch of dudes there, and they're like, yeah, just sit in this room right here, and then we'll call you in. A couple minutes later, they call me in and they're like, hey, you've been approved for membership. We read your background. Everything's good to go. Welcome aboard. And I'm like, all right, cool. Sure. Dude, oblivious as hell. And so they're like, come back here with us. We'll start. What size are you? What size are you in pants and blah, blah. And they're getting me gear and I'm trying on jackets and getting a pager. And I'm like, sir, I got a question. Is this for a community service? They're like, no, that application was an application for membership. Welcome. And I was like, oh, okay. New to the fire service, bro. So I went along with it. I was like, cool. Why not? I'm gonna try it. I remember I got all my gear. I started meeting people. I remember the first time, man, when I put on an SCBA mask, like no one told, like once you click in, if you're not used to, you don't know what to do, you don't get that breath until it clicks. So like when that happened, I was like, oh, like this is different. And so, man, from there, it was all she wrote, man. Like it was, I don't know if it was fate or whatever, but I was hooked. I surrounded myself with jam up dudes who taught me. I mean, I didn't know anything. So they taught me hoses. This is an engine. This is a ladder. This is what this does. This is what that does. I had to go to fire school to get all my certifications. And like I embraced it. And so in high school, you know, uh, I forgot when I joined. It wasn't at the end. It was I think like in the middle of my senior year. So we had a couple guys that were on the same department, and like we would listen to calls, and it was like the cool kids club, man. Like they would rock the jackets. Those I don't know what they're called now, but
Those
they're
like
coming
diamond
back.
patch
Those
ones.
diamond
Yeah.
patch jackets, and it was just like it was like a little click. And what I would do is, man, as soon as school was out, I go straight to the firehouse. I do my homework there. I'd run calls there or run the calls that I could. Most of the time, I was just allowed to observe until I got all my certifications. But that's what I did day in, day out. Weekends, firehouse. Weeknights, firehouse. Like I was at the firehouse so much. I remember my dad like kind of questioned. He was like, "What's going on over there?" He's like, "You're there a lot." And he's like, and there's a lot of dudes there. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, like it's just a firehouse. He's like, well, I just want to make sure you're safe. And I'm like, I'm good, Dad. It's just something I can't explain. So, man, I got into it. I was able to get my certifications, running calls, and it was just what I call, and this is no disrespect, but I call these guys the old heads, man. I listen to the old guys, the guys, senior men, 30, 40 years.
Mm.
They sit you down, they explain this is what you do on this call, this is what you need to look out for. Like I just absorbed it all in. And if anyone's heard this before, they know like up north departments do parades. So like I got to attend my first parade where Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, man, we're getting the rig ready for parades. And like that's where the tire shine came from. That's where the cleaning of the apparatus comes from because I saw like, hey, if we want to show our pride, this is what we do. So from there, I just took all of that in and it transferred over to kind of who I am today. Of course, everybody knows we had an event in New York called 9/11. It affected my dad's limo business pretty bad, and so I was actually in community college at the time, and he came up to me. He was like, "Hey, just letting you know, me and your mom are moving. You can stay or you can come with us. We're moving to Charlotte." And I didn't know anything, and I was like, "You know what? Sure, why not?" And so we moved, and I moved down to North Carolina. The first thing I did, I had to join a volunteer fire department, which I found one and I joined it. So, I had to kind of go through I had to go through my firefighter 1 and 2 again. I don't think anything transferred or whatever the case may be happened, but I went through it all. And that's kind of much, how we got up to that part right there.
Yeah, I don't understand why the reciprocity is so hard,
Yeah.
right? When you're trying to move states or something like that, especially on the coast, right? California, Florida, New York, Seattle, your certifications really don't mean anything unless you get those certs from in state.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, starting over kind of sucks, but at least you were kind of young at that point, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was 20, 22, 23. The wild thing was so the department I joined, there's two things that opened up my eyes that I didn't know of. I remember one of them was the department I joined when I moved down here. I went and they had a very nice station, and I looked at their trucks, and I saw, they had one Pierce Custom Enforcer cab, I believe it was, and then they had like two Freightliners, and it was just two doors. And I was looking at those trucks like, that's interesting. I'm like, that's fire truck. They're like, yeah, these are our tankers. And I'm like, where's your manpower on these things? Just two people? And they're like, yeah, just two guys. Bro, I had never seen nothing like that because New York, man, we all had customs. They, 4 to 6 guys can go on it. So that was new. And then another eye opening was they required EMTs. So my department up north, they don't run first responder calls. It's straight up fire calls. So that was new to me. So I was told, hey, yeah, if you want to get, if you want to, if you want to be able to run more calls and potentially get paid, like go full time, you have to have your EMT. So that was new. I had to go to EMT school. I had to do it twice. I'm very upfront and open. The first time I didn't apply myself like most kids my age. I mean, I heard that so many times in high school from my teachers when my teachers would call my parents and be like, he just needs to sit down and apply himself.
Mm.
So I had to go through EMT twice, but I was able to get it. And yeah, man. And that was it. So at the time as a volunteer, I worked at Sherwin-Williams full time. I guess part time, full time, whatever you want to call it. And so, on my days off, man, I would just go to the volunteer department and hang out and just, run some calls, things of that nature. And after a while, I had one of the part time guys was like, "Hey, man, you could do this like full time, right?" And I had never thought about it. I was like, "No, I didn't think about that." He's like, "Yeah, this department just down the road called Moore's was getting ready to hire. We're getting ready to open up another station, man. You should apply." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "So I can get paid to do what I?" Because literally, dude, as a volunteer, we were supplemented by part time staff. I would show up as if I was a part timer. I would show up at uh, they usually worked 7 to 4 and 9 to 6. So I picked one of those two. I'd be there at 7 and I wouldn't leave till 4. Sometimes I wouldn't stay. I'd stay till 6, but I'm not being paid. I'm kind of emulating what a part-time firefighter does. And so I think that caught the eye of several people. Some people probably didn't like it, but in this day and age, man, you can't make everybody happy. Someone's always going to find something that they don't like about you. But anyways, I was approached once I got all my certifications. I was approached by the membership there, and they're like, "Hey, man, would you like to come on and work part time?" And I'm like, "Sure." So on my days off where I wasn't at Sherwin-Williams, I'd go and work, at my volunteer department during the day because it was supplemented by volunteers back then. Um, and then so, like I said, I had a captain from Mooresville who worked part time at my volunteer organization was like, "Hey, man, we're getting ready to hire," and so I was like, "Sure." So I put in for it. Luckily, man, first try I was able to get on, and yeah, that was it. So I went through I kind of at that time I was not as like I didn't weigh what I weighed now. Like back then, dude, I was like a buck 15, buck 20, soaking wet. So they're like, "Hey, you got to put in some work. Our physical agility test is no joke," which it wasn't. But I was able to make it, man. I was able to get it done, and I got hired, and I got put on, and that started the my kind of career into the fire service, man. Year one, I had a really good captain. I learned lots of things from him. Uh, but one thing, looking back, hindsight 2020, man, after like, I don't know, you could say maybe 5 or 6 years under my belt, I got complacent, but not complacent to the point where it was like I was arrogant or anything. It was just like, oh, all right, 5 years in, I'm a fireman. I know what I need to do, this, that, and the other, and things of that nature.
I've heard people say, some of the senior guys, people that have been around for a little while, say that the 5 year point in your career is probably one of the most dangerous, right?
I can see that.
Because we don't know what we don't know, but we think we know more than we do, right? Like
Hmm.
I pulled a hose, I forced a door, I've done all these trainings, like I'm good. You know, I've got through probation. I'm no longer the junior man anymore. I can put myself in cruise control, and you can whatever call comes down the pipe, I'm there. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
like you're not necessarily a shitbag, but you're not enhancing your career because you think you're at that phase of like I've done it. And
Right.
I think it goes just because of guys like you and me. Maybe we didn't go to like the big colleges. We both did community college, but you know, you get 4 year stint in high school, 3 years in middle school, and all this stuff. So I think we're just indoctrinated for these phases of life to last only 4 or 5 years, and then we're like, all right, I know what I'm doing. I'm good. I can cruise.
Right.
And
Right.
I went through the same thing, dude. Like, the first time you and I connected, that was probably like my first year of coming out of that phase of, I'm like a reborn again firefighter. I just happened to stumble on a conference and then it completely blew my world and flipped my fire service career upside down, you know, for the better. And now I'm a student of the game, right? You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
that's, that's where I wanted to take this next part of the conversation is like, you had two podcasts, right? That opened your eyes. Which podcasts were those?
The first one was Fit to Fight Fire before the split when it was John, Craig, and Tom Johnson, I believe it was, and 3 Point Firefighter with Jake Barnes. So, um, I don't know what year that was. So, well, we can fast forward a little bit. So, like I said, man, I've always been, I was always like the quiet type firefighter. So, like, anytime we would have multi company drills or whatever the case may be, like, you would never find me in the middle of where everyone's at. I was always kind of off to the side, and some people kind of found that, I don't want to say troubling, but I would always get questioned, or my officer would get questioned, like, is he having a good day? Because, like, I had this resting bitch face, or, just because I'm not smiling doesn't mean I'm not happy. It's just the way my face is. So, dude, I get constantly the captain come up and be like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And they're like, "Okay." I had somebody wanted me to ask, and I'm like, Jesus, like, yeah, I'm fine. But I was always like, I would learn and watch from people who, I don't want to say they're the stars, but every department's got those guys that, whenever they walk into a room, it's like bam, people kind of go flock, start talking, talk about different calls, shop life, whatever the case may be. So like those are the people I kind of was like, all right, I want to watch how they move, I want to see what they do. But I was always in the shadows. During my career, at Mooresville, I was very fortunate where I was at our station one for 6 straight years, and our station one is the busy. Right now, it's between station one and two, but station one is the fire factory. If it's going to be burning, it's usually in station one's area, and I was very fortunate where I was able to run a lot of medicals, run a lot of wrecks, a decent amount of fires, and I had some really good officers underneath of me, officers that would get on my ass when complacency would hit, officers that would get on my ass where if as a young 20 something year old man, you think you know it all, and so they'd have to sit me down and be like, hey, you need to fix your attitude. If I tell you you need to fix this or that, this is the reason why. I'm not trying to belittle you. So you as you grow up in the fire service, man, you get wiser, of course. You get older, you get more mature. So I'm really thankful that I had officers like that. That would kind of keep me grounded. Really good officers, officers where if they said, hey, do something, you didn't question. It was automatically done. Officers that you did not want to let down. One of them in particular, I'm going to name drop him, and I'll tell him that to his face. And I'm sure if I did, he'd probably like tell me to fuck off or move because he's not very emotional type. But Neil Brawley was one of my best captains at Station One. I learned a lot from him. I learned not to take shit. I learned how to drive. I learned how a fireman needs to be, how we need to act. So I definitely can't, say that was all internal for me. I learned from people, and that's the thing. Like I learned by just sitting back. So that's why I'm sure right now where I am today, some people might say, well, this guy's never like, so I'm gonna be upfront, man. I don't really teach classes. I have respect for instructors. I don't care to be an instructor, but if I have an official instructor that goes, hey man, I'd like for you to teach ladders, like not teach, but help these recruits or new people understand ladders, I will do it, but I stay in my lane.
Mm.
But I also feel like the lane that I'm currently in right now, some people are like, well, what the fuck has he done? And you're right. All I've done is just sit back and watch people, watch videos, try to emulate those people that I look up to. And I look up to a lot of different people. So, uh, and that's why, I always say, man, like I stay in my lane. I don't boast about shit. I grind, I work hard, and I just try to be the best version of myself.
I really appreciate you saying that too, because there's a big uh, vetting process that's not being taken, especially with social media. And I've fallen into that trap too. But the first time I actually heard someone call it out was Anthony Roet in
Mhm.
Mobile. And he was saying, obviously, like you're saying, if you're in your training academy and you're part of the cadre, teach the new people, teach the people that maybe don't understand a skill set that you've learned over your time in. But if you haven't done it on a real call, don't be trying to go out and teach it to other departments and get paid for it.
Absolutely.
Right. Like I love that you're saying stay in your lane, right? Like, yeah, maybe you're not part of Job Town and you're really good at a skill set, but yeah,
No,
make sure you don't jump the gun. And that's what we're seeing on Instagram a little bit, right? Is like guy 2-3 years on the job, really motivated, ambitious, is learning some cool shit, and then trying to like put together some training platform where you can pay $50 to get it. It's like, well, hold on, like
yeah.
slow down a little bit. No, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
No, it's definitely a trend, and you definitely got to vet your people. But like I said, man, I am no, I, I give my 100% utmost credit to live burn instructors. Definitely live burn instructors, bro. I've been to some live burns where the instructors, man, they sit in there, they take that heat, they take that soot, they come out, man, they got black soot, and I'm just looking at these dudes like, you guys are the reason why the fire service is great. Like what you do is it's very humbling, man. I don't, and I'm not saying I can't do that. I just like to stay in my lane, man. I watch things. You'd be amazed what you can learn when just if you watch informative videos, go out and try things. And that's all I do.
Yeah.
So, I have the utmost respect, like I said, for anybody that's an instructor out there. But I just keep myself grounded. I'm always learning. I don't know it all. I'm 100% transparent on that. I don't know it all. I'm always learning something new every day. My organization, it's not Job Town, but every day I show up to work, I treat it like, hey, we can run multiple fires in a day. That's just how I do it. Some people might not understand it, but I will not let complacency set in, man, because I was once at a point which we kind of I went around in circles, but with that question you asked, I was at a point, man, where I wanted to quit the fire service. I
Mhm.
wanted to quit my department. I wanted to get out of it altogether. Um, and it was because I was at a point where people were just griping just to gripe, man. Nobody wanted to train. And I was just like this can't be it. So I had a buddy put me on to, he's like, hey, listen to this podcast. And I listened to it. And I listened to this guy talk about how, he has X, Y, and Z, this type of person in his department. I'm like, oh shit. Like I got the same thing. And it's like, don't let these people change who you are. Don't let them make you quit the fire service. So, man, the more I started listening, the more I got involved. And I was like, all right, if I'm going to be out in the bay by myself, fuck it. It is what it is. I'm going to do it. I'm going to just keep going. And then, you listen to more interviews on podcasts, and they're like, just because you're at a slow station right now doesn't mean you're going to stay there. And so I was finally able to make a change. So my department at the time, I was on an engine for 15 straight years, different engines. engine one, engine two. I was on engine three for a little bit, but I always stayed on an engine. And so with our newest station, we had an opening coming up where it was going to be a ladder truck. And I'm like, man, you know what? I'm going to throw myself out there. I'm going to try something different. And so I was never really a ladder guy. Was never really a heights type guy. Like if you tell me to go on a roof to do something, I'll do it. And of course, like I don't want to fit the stereotypical American, but like, us brown guys, we don't really like heights per se or whatever. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna let this shit stop me. So I put in for it. I put in for the station. I got it. And the first couple of things I did when I got on shift there, we didn't have a driver at the time, and I was in the process of being a relief driver. I was in the testing process. So, like, my battalion chief was like, "Hey, I know you're in the testing process. I am putting huge faith in you that you can do this shit." So I got assigned to that station with just me, my officer, and a brand new firefighter. I drove every day for like, I don't know, 7 to 9 months. He was like, "You're gonna get this shit to be a relief driver." So what I did on that aerial truck, man, I faced my fears. I got in the bucket, and then I went up every day. I'd go up to like 50 feet and just sit there and just look around. And then the next day, 60 feet, 70 feet, 80 feet, 90 feet. Our old ladder is a 110-foot Suffin platform. So like I finally got to the point, man, where I was up top, and I'm like, okay. And you have to embrace your fears. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm up there, and it's always like the way your mind works whenever you don't like something or you're uncomfortable. It's like, man, what happens if I get up there and the fucking ladder just falls? But when you think about it, it's like scientifically that shit can't happen, but your mind makes you think of dumb shit that you don't want to do. So man, I embraced it, and I actually love truck work, bro. Like, well, whenever we can get to do truck work, we're a quint. But like, I like the whole aspect of throw ladders, get searches, force entry, ventilate. We might go defensive, so get the bucket, set it up for defensive ops. Like, I liked the change. I embraced it. So when I got there, man, I was like, you know what? You're fucking 38 years old. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's what I did.
Yeah, I think you're touching on something too, man. Of like this mindset thing, right? Like you gave me this topic of like mindset when it's all on the line, right? Like you're basically convincing yourself that yes, you have these fears, and you've even told yourself like logically, my fears don't make sense based on like what's real. Um, and so that's good when you're overcoming your fears on your firefighting skill set. But I think it's also very important, and I'm sure you experienced this with starting your own platform, of stop giving a shit about what the critics have to say to you, whether it's inside or outside your organization, fire related or anything like that, because I think that's something that holds us back as well. This fear of failure, this fear of being criticized or treated differently because of your ambition and who you were trying to be and who you feel that you're supposed to be. It's like, do I want to fit in with this crowd over here, or people that don't want to put themselves out there because they don't want to look stupid? Or do I want to go out there and look fucking stupid and tell people I'm fucking scared of heights, but I'm gonna go up there and do this shit? And where are you gonna be at the end of the day when you chip away at those fears versus just sit in this little fucking in crowd of the people that are not progressing in their career? I think that's a testament to the type of person you are. You've done it in your firefighting skill set. You've done it with your platform.
Thank you. No, I mean, that's literally all I did, man. Like, cause I never, like, I remember going through the JPRs of having to climb ladders and all that, man. I always, I hated it. I hated it. And I was like, yo, I need to stop. Like, just do it. Do it at your own pace. Do it how you feel comfortable. They'll show you different things. And that's what I tell people, like, whenever I teach ladders, I like to exaggerate my ladder angles. You know what I mean? Like some people like to climb it up real steep. I like to exaggerate where, of course, it has to be situational dependent, but I exaggerate my angles. And when I go up, Like, you know how some people go, man, they're just, and the ladder is just flexing and bouncing against the wall. And I'm like, no, I go
Mm.
slow, taking my time, smooth, and that's just the way I do it. So I finally just put my head, like, I seriously can't let this thing stop me from exploring, another side. So, like I said, dude, 15 years on an engine straight, and then I go into quint work, ladder work, however you want to call it, and I'm like, man, I'm digging it. I'm loving it. Yeah,
So
yeah,
you just switched to the ladder last year.
yeah. So to what's it, June? So yeah. This makes it a little over a year that I've been on ladder 6.
Nice. And you're hooked then, huh?
Uh, I like it. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, if the opportunity comes where, hey, another position opens up, or I want to go to a different station, I could probably, potentially go back to another engine.
Yeah.
Um, my ladder is not the busiest. Where we're located, we don't run very. I mean, we might run one or two calls, and then some shifts you run like 5 or 7. So, I'd like to be a little busier, but just because I'm not, that doesn't mean I'm not going to do anything. Like, I take so much time. Like, all right, we're not running as many calls today. I'm going to get proficient at this. I'm going to get real good at this. So when I first got there, throwing ladders, I learned was a thing. And so I struggled, man. I struggled throwing ladders, but I just kept on, kept on, kept on. And now I can say, I'm not trying to like boast or anything, but I'm pretty decent at throwing ladders. I did try to do a shoulder 35. We have a 2-section 35. I'm still struggling with that,
Yeah.
as far as like throwing it with the shoulder, but I can get it out the truck. I can get it to an area and I can throw it up easy utilizing a building. So, I'm always working on things. I'm always looking at things to tweak and work and improve on.
That's a big deal for someone that came into the fire service at 115 pounds.
Yeah.
The ladder weighs
Yeah.
more than you.
Yeah. Oh, dude. It's like, so, but I can say, so we have two section 35s, 128, a 20, and a 16. I can definitely shoulder throw the 28 like butter. And it was funny because the other day I threw a 24 and like in a long time, and I'm like, yo, the 24 is a breeze
Yeah, you could dance
compared to the 28.
for
Like,
sure.
oh man. And then we have a 20-foot, which what I like about our 20-foot, man, it throws you off, because if you could throw the 16, you're like, oh, I could do a 20 easy. Bro, that extra 4 foot makes a big difference. Where when you watch people try to throw it and they don't get it the first time, it's like you underestimated that, which I did. So that's why, that's like another thing that I take away, man. I never underestimate anything. Like, I take everything, I watch it methodically. I've learned different ways how to do it, and that's it.
That's a big thing I've seen between younger, newer people in the fire service and people that have had, 10 years and more in the fire service is like the young guns, bro. That, yeah, you can rely on them to get out of the gate fast and in a hurry, but then you give them things where you need to focus on your body mechanics, your body positioning, leverage points, and the new guys just can't figure that shit out, right? Because they're trying to use all their power and speed and their force, and you're just like, hey, I can show you how to do this real smooth and quick because I have the experience and I know body positioning and all that stuff. And I think that is a beautiful blend of senior personnel and the new guys, right? Because the new people, once again, like us, when we first came in, we thought we were hot shots and we knew everything and we were strong and fit and young. And then every now and then the senior guys come in and put us in our place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. No, definitely, definitely. And so, another thing I did too, and you got to vet, of course, but man, I watched so many different YouTube videos of laddering. I watched videos of Baltimore, Harrisburg. So, like, one little thing that I figured out after I saw it on YouTube, I'm like, man, I'm going next shift. I'm going to try this. Our 20-foot, when you shoulder throw it, I can get it. Definitely no issues. But one thing you can make to make it easier on yourself, take a Halligan, put it in the front, and it gives you that little balance fulcrum leverage point, man. It was like, bloop, and I'm like, look at that.
Yeah.
Just like, but you don't know that until you do some research on it. So that's why, like I said, man, when I go to work, I don't expect the people I work with or people, if I'm timed out at a different station where for the 24 straight hours, man, we're into the job all the time. No, but you got to be able to work on the craft a little bit because the time, like, I don't want it to be where where our tones get set off, man, that's when I have to prove myself. You know what I mean? Like, I want to prove myself on the fire ground. I want to do it while I'm at the station training. And when the calls come in, man, that's where it's my time to shine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about being a student of the craft and constantly working and constantly digging into your research, whether that be YouTube or textbooks, whatever that looks like, and you're out there doing the work. You mentioned the superstars in your organization, and then every time you see them when they walk into a room or whatever, you're going up to them and talking to them about calls or different tactics and things like that. I think it's because they've carried themselves like that for a long enough time to where they're known for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you also went through this phase similar to me, is when you start putting yourself out there, whether that's podcasts or being a student of the game and you're working on stuff, there is a growth period where your coworkers, fellow firefighters look at you and they're like, yo, like, you need, once again, stay in your lane, know your place. I don't need you to come out here and teach me all this stuff. Go over there in the corner and work on your shit, but don't come in here and start preaching that stuff because we don't have time for that. Have you gone through that phase, and are you past it, or where are you at with that?
So, I mean, I'll say I'm pretty quiet at work when it comes to certain things. Like, certain things I can be very vocal on. But at this point, man, like, so I just stay trying to figure out how to put this. So I'm gonna say that there's probably individual or individuals at my organization that maybe can't see how I have a podcast, why I have a podcast. Because like I said, I don't I don't really do anything extra at my organization. I just do my job, but I do it well. So haters, you're always going to have them. But what I like about haters is even if you know someone doesn't like you, they're never going to say it to your face.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, if I'm around an individual, I feel like, they don't really like me, they're going to be cordial and I'll be cordial, but like, we're not like best friends. We're not going to hang out, things of that nature. I just, I do what I do, and I don't like, I let them do them, and I do me. So like, I never put myself in a situation where I'm gonna have to teach them something unless it's something they don't really know. You know what I'm saying? So uh
But have you gotten to that point where people are starting to come up to you now about questions or tactics or
yeah,
your,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
So like our newest firefighter, for example, he's new. He was in the fire service before, but it was all forestry, like wildland firefighter back in California. So now, he's into the structural firefighting realm. So he's green. I think he's got like a little over 2 years on. And I told him, I said, hey man, like, if you have any questions, just come ask me. If I don't know it, I'll get you an answer. I'm not one of those that make shit up, like, because I don't know it all. I still don't know it all. So I tell him, this is what you got to do if you want to be proficient at it. And so I can only hold his hand so much. And I know some people, I've heard, other interviewers say you should never stop uh encouraging people, and I get it, but I also look at it as we're all adults in this profession. So if you know you're not good at masking up or throwing a particular size ladder, go out and do it. I don't have to be out there with you to do it, because you're going to find me out in the bay by myself doing whatever it is I want to do. I don't wait on anybody. Is that right? No. And I always hear people say, if you're that kind of person, eventually somebody's going to come out and ask you a question and get involved. Unfortunately, in a lot of my experiences, they come outside, they see that you're doing something, they go right back inside.
Mm.
So how I look at that is, okay, I'm not going to hold your hand. You're an adult. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. And when I say this next thing, I'm not trying to be very arrogant or boastful, but whenever I see an individual that sees that I'm out there putting in the work and they're not that great at that particular skill set, when we get to either the fire ground or if we go to training for JPRs, I'm going to try my damnedest to make you look like shit. And I don't say that to be like vengeful, but I say that because you have the opportunity to do it. You just don't want to do it. But then when you fail at it, you get mad and you're like, well, what can I do this? What can I do that to make myself better? And it's all you got to do is come outside and do the reps that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I understand some people might take that the wrong way, but at some point, man, I'm not gonna hold you know what I mean? Like, we're adults. If you want to get good, come out here and do it. Like, I'll do it with you. We
Right.
will fail together and we will succeed together. But when you come out there and you see me do it and you're just like, I'm just going back, it's hot, I'm going back inside. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's that whole thing is based, it's ego and lack of humility, right? Like, if you're out there doing it work and some dude comes up to you and he goes, I suck at this, man. Like, can I just work on this? You're not gonna be like, you suck, you're a piece of shit. It's like, no, you're here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And I've been trying to share that message by bringing guys like Logan and John Spira on. It's the same thing. Like, you see those dudes getting after it and they're in gear and they're grinding and all that stuff. It's kind of intimidating, but all they just want to do hood rat shit with their friends too. You know what I mean? Like, come out, join the party. Like,
Absolutely, man.
leave your fucking ego at the door, man. Like, that's the problem in the fire service is we're all a bunch of type A people. We all want to hold the remote control. I get that shit. But the bigger message is our service to the community. Like, we need to be a fucking small team unit and working together. And the mission is the people. Like, it's not about me doing shit better than you. It's not about you being in better shape or smarter. It's just, we're a fucking crew. Let's just go out there and do stuff together. So I don't know exactly how we overcome that message. It seems like you're trying to do it in a way where you're out there grinding and you're doing the work and people can join you if they want. But I don't know, man. I experienced the same thing too.
I mean, well, like I said, dude, I'll come in, I try and knock out PT first thing. And then now here, well, definitely every summer, I like to wait when it's a little bit hot to do it. And some people might not like that. And I get it, but I'm just trying to get acclimated to the heat. So the best way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to wait for a little after lunchtime. I'm going to go throw ladders a couple times for 30 minutes. And then I switch it up. I'll do something else. But the way I look at it is, the way I also look at it is, all right, you have a deficiency in said skill. I'm out here doing said skill. You come out there, you see me doing it, you go back inside, you don't do it right. We have scheduled training next shift with our training chief who's going to be out there observing. He's going to see who's proficient and who's not. And I'm sure he might not tell to that person, but in his head, he's going to go, all right, out of this crew of 4, he's pretty good at his mask up times. The other ones are kind of struggling. Like, and I don't do that to say, look at me. I do it because it's our job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, when I'm off work, I'm off work. Like, granted, of course, I do podcasts on the side, but I'm not like living and breathing the fire service.
Yeah.
But like when I'm at work, man, like I allow time. Like, I put time in on different skills that I feel like I should always be good at. Mask up drills, ladders, stretch and hose, search techniques, throwing ladders, setting up our area. Like, cause I do drive. Like, I just do what I call like the basics, the fundamental skills to get good at it where I don't have to worry, about like, will I be able to do this? So what I try to tell my younger firemen is, hey, if I come into work one day and you're out there doing mask up drills and I'm not out there, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go out there and do it. Like, I have gotten myself to a point where I am comfortable doing it with my gloves on, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to boast, but if you're good at something, like, okay, I can take a day off. I don't have to do mask up drills today because I have mastered how I have my own technique, and I try to tell him, find your own way. But what I can't stand is when you fail at it and then you start throwing the excuses. But it's like, you remember what you did last shift? You sat on your phone all day. Take an hour, 30 minutes out of your day to work on your mask up skills, and you will get to that point where it's like second nature.
I think that's another issue in the fire service is lack of accountability because we don't want to hurt each other's feelings. Yeah, there's definitely that saying of like, hey, we're all adults. You don't need to talk to people like kids. Absolutely don't. You don't need to. But we can hold each other accountable. Like people in my organization call me a dick because I go up to people and I call them out after a call and something was fucked up. And I'm like, hey, bro, I saw this. I don't ever want to see that shit again, man. Like first off, I will chew somebody's ass because that's how I learned shit in the military. But then I'm also that guy that's like, hey, like let's debrief this. Where did we fuck this up? What were you seeing versus what I was seeing? Let's come to let's get on the same page and then figure out how we can be better next time around. It's not hard, but for some reason we end up with those 20-year guys that have been riding a recliner for most of their time and no one's calling them out. And we're just like, oh, that's that guy. You know, he's definitely a liability, but whatever. There's no change in him.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get the younger guys that are out in the bay doing work, and then you talk shit about that guy. Oh, that guy's all hardcore. He's way too into the job. That guy, whatever. And they're shooting arrows at that guy because he put a target on his back. But then the guy snoring awake with his CPAP machine sitting next to him in the recliner with like whatever with that guy. I don't understand what the problem is with accountability in the fire service. And once again, it's not every single organization. It's not every firehouse, but you and I have been outside the walls of our organization. It's not just a small microcosm. It's a big thing in the fire service.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I can say, as far as calling people out, I have conversations with my buddy all the time on that. And it's to the point now where I honestly, I don't say anything because I'm not an officer. I'm just a backstep firefighter. And like, I'll hear somebody complain about this or that, and it's, I guess, like it's the feeling of uncomfortableness, because if I really had to tell you how I feel, you're gonna definitely feel a type of way. You know what I'm saying? So like, I just don't say anything. I just prove my actions through. When we go out and we do this, you're like, or they're like, damn, he did that shit like real quick, or blah, blah, blah. He's already masked up, ready to go. Like, I prove my actions through doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm to the point now where I am not going to say anything. And then usually whenever I don't, that's when people start going, hey, is everything okay with him? Like, he's quiet. And it's like, I'm quiet because I'm tired. I'm tired of wasting my breath. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of dudes that come into work that treat the main career fire department job like it's a side hustle. Like, that shit gets on my nerves. And then what else gets on my nerves are the officers that allow it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not an officer, so I'm not going to say anything. I see it, and everything is proven through your actions. You know, whenever we have a training scenario and said person gripes about, I don't like how this thing feels, or whatever the case may be. You know why you're like that? It's because you don't put it on. You put it on when you know you have a JPR skill coming up, but that's it. Other than that, you treat the job like it's just a job. That's not how I go into work. So I will be 100% honest. I guarantee if you were to do a surprise visit tomorrow while I'm at work, you will find me in another room while everybody else is in the same room together. I distance myself from it. I'm not saying it's right. You know, we need to come together, but at some point, man, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna do me. I surround myself with things that I enjoy. If you come talk to me, I'll come talk to you. But like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do me. Like, you know, my officer, if he doesn't see me, he's probably gonna go out in the bay and find me doing something. I'm not gonna call anybody and be like, hey man, come out here, and I don't do all that. Like, I just go out and do it. I try to allow a couple hours a day to do some fireman shit. I call it sweat equity and
Mm-hmm.
keep it moving, man. And that's it.
I like how you touch on the company officer, man, because honestly, I think that's a missed opportunity right there with the company officer. Because what would happen if you were out in the bay getting after it, and then your fucking company officer shows up with you and starts getting in? How's the rest of the crew gonna feel if that happens?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I truly believe as a company officer, like you got to understand your people, right? So if Danny B's more of an introvert and he's doing his own thing and no one's willing to join him, like maybe as a company officer, I need to go break bread and show everybody that I'm willing to get after it too. And that maybe creates a culture, it creates a rhythm. And then people start going up to you. Wait, what are you doing today? All right, fuck it, let's get after it. We're a team, we're a crew. And it's led once again by the company officer, can have a little bit more hearsay because I do acting company officer shit, right?
Okay.
Before I got my certifications to do that, I was that guy that was like, hey, we need to do this as a team. We need to do workouts together. We need to do training. And everybody's like, nah, yeah, whatever. I got computer shit. I got my own thing. I got to focus on that. I'm like, all right. But then as soon as I'm the company officer for the day, they're like, what do you want to do? You got stuff planned? I'm like, yeah, you fucking right. I got stuff planned. Like, let's do it. So
Okay.
I think company officers for sure, bro, need to be that glue for the crew, right?
Right.
I
Right.
think firefighters, backsteppers, their primary mission is to serve the community, and that's physical, mental, learning, constantly learning and grinding, like getting after it like you do on a regular. Company officers, you need to take that shit a step further. You now serve your crew. Like you're that in that leadership position. You need to give your crew whatever they need to build that camaraderie or get that training together, and don't let these guys slack over here, right? And if it takes you getting in your gear to go train out in the bay, then that's what it's going to take. But I think yeah, that's a big responsibility on a company officer, and that's a missed opportunity if there's guys that aren't taking that.
Yeah. No, I mean, there definitely is. And like I said, dude, you know, I, I'll tell anybody that I work with, either if it's my regular guys on my crew or somebody that comes in, hey, is there anything you want to do today? And if they're like, nope, I'm like, okay. So in my mind, that means you're good at everything. You're set. So when them tones go off, you're good to go. All right, and I'm gonna go do whatever it is I go do. And
Yeah.
I just leave it at that. I'm not saying it's right, but at this point in my life and my career, I'm not about any bickering. I'm not trying to belittle anybody. It's the work will show when we're either having to go show our training chief our skills or when we get that call. But the way my mindset works is if you are that type of individual, I will try my damnedest to run circles around you. I want to go 2 or 3 bottles while you're like, can we take a break? I don't want to take a break. I want to go back to work because that's what we're here for.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. Well,
I
okay.
mean, yeah.
Let's talk about fitness, dude, because I know that's a big question you ask guys that you bring on your platform is
Mhm.
fitness. What type of fitness? Is there any specific type of fitness that you're doing, or what do you think is the best for guys what they should be doing?
I think that first off, I think everybody's different. You got to find what works for you because there are some maneuvers, some either whatever you want to call them, some workouts that just aren't for me. Like I follow a plethora of people. So a lot of stuff that Marcos Orozco does, John Spera, Logan Broberg, I'll take bits and pieces and make it work for me. I don't embrace all of it.
Hmm.
So one thing I like to do is when I work out, um, I actually did switch it up here lately. So luckily, my training chief caught wind that I was working out in my actual turnout gear. So he
Mhm.
did me a solid. He found my old set and he was like, "Here, take it. That way you don't rip." I did have an incident where, and I did not mean any harm by it, but me and my firefighter, I actually got him to we partnered up together and we were doing a gear workout when we were doing uh drags. And we did a couple drags on the concrete. And when we got done, like I turned around and he's like, "Bro, your jacket." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "It looks like a fucking lion just attacked me." and I have like shreds off, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So I told the chief. I told him, you know, it wasn't like I didn't purposely mean to do that. It was bad judgment. So whatever the case may be, my training chief stepped in. He's like, hey man, here's your old set. Work out in that. What I do now though is I don't do gear workouts on duty, because we've had an incident where, man, like I was in it and then we get a call and I have to shed that gear to get in my real gear. It's wet, it's hard. So what I do when I go into work, I work out with like a hoodie, a sweatshirt, 3 or 4 shirts on to get that heat acclimation going. And I do things like up downs, push ups, air squats. I just keep moving. Like I make up circuits, or I think of things on the fire ground I have to do. But I usually incorporate push ups, air squats, whatever the case may be, man. So find what works for you. But what I can't stand are people who say they work out, right? Like they do a set here or two, and then it's this for 10 minutes.
Yep.
And then they go back, and then it's back to that. And like, you're not sweating. The point of a workout to me is to get that heart rate up to sweat. So like whenever I see somebody that does that, I'm just like, okay. And it's one thing where like our station, we work out at our station. The other stations, sometimes they go to a gym facility. What I can't stand are when I see firemen that actually do that same shit out there and the general public's watching you. Firemen that crowd around a treadmill to talk shop while the community is just watching you. Like, do you not see how that might not look too well? Like, everybody's crowded around a treadmill for 30 minutes when we're supposed to be working out. Like, those are the things I look at as being a mature-ish type person. You know what I mean? I look at when the fire chief gets that phone call, I goes, hey, just letting you know, your truck's out here, but your guys have been sitting around talking for 30 minutes. Like, he allows us an hour of time to work out, get the workout in. Like, I understand, sometimes we have 2 different trucks come in and guys want to talk, figure out, hey, what's going on, misses, kids, but get back after it. Don't like crowd around the thing and hog equipment. Like, so at my station, I don't have to worry about that. Like, we work out at our station. But man, when I go work out, when I'm done, I'm drenched. I'm literally leaking. My shirts are wet. I can squeeze it out. Like, that's a workout for me. I love whenever I hear the excuse of, well, I work out at my part-time job. Well, what do you do at your part-time job? I cut grass. I'm outside in the heat. And I'm like, yes, to an extent, you are sweating, but that's not really working out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
That's labor. That's not functional fitness type stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, my best advice is find what works for you, because everyone's different, man. I used to be huge into running, and I was telling you off air that man, my back has been killing me like for the past week or so. And so I finally went to the doctor and they did an x-ray and they're like, has anyone ever told you your hips are out of line? And I was like, no, like, dude, my hips are like that. Like, my right leg is working a lot more than my left. And so they've pretty much figured out the constant use and years of air packs and twisting, lifting has shifted my hips. So I'm working with the chiropractor right now. I'm doing some physical therapy, and I'm working more on stretches, because that's another thing, man. When you get older, when we were younger, man, we go right into the workout, right? But it's like, nah, bro, you gotta stretch. Stretching is very important now. So I'm learning to stretch before and after. And then there's some workouts where all I do is stretch. So the best advice I could tell people is find what works for you, because not everybody's going to want to do what you do. And that's fine. I don't expect when they go into work, someone to look at me and be like, what's the workout for today? No, bro, like, I can tell you this is what I'm going to do. But if I'm doing up downs and you don't like doing up downs, then do jumping jacks. But just do something to get moved.
Yeah, man. I remember coming on your show, and I don't think at that point, I think it was like 2021 or no, 2023 when I came and talked to you, but I don't think you and I were doing gear workouts at the time.
I was not. No, that was new. Yeah.
And I've been influenced by the same names you were dropping, right? Marcos lives 4 minutes from me. Spira is in my backyard. He's on the south side of Denver, right? And then Logan, I just love Logan. But those guys are those dudes that get after it in their gear. And I was like, all right, let me try this out. Man, I felt, admittedly, dude, I've been bro lifting my whole life. Those guys that you said, like they'll do a set and then get on their phone and then maybe 5 minutes later go. I did that for a large part of my life, thought I was in shape, right? And my workouts were 2 hours long because I'm like shooting the shit with the people at the gym by the water fountain, all that stuff. I was that guy. And then I started doing more endurance, getting in my gear and stuff because I started getting older.
Mm-hmm.
When we started going to do trainings and stuff, and I'm getting in my gear and I'm putting my mask on, and now I feel more uncomfortable. I don't have that range of motion, and it didn't bother me when I was younger, but now that I'm almost 40, I think about it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
feel it. We're doing training, and I'm like, man, I'm uncomfortable in my mask. My fucking pack is digging into my shoulders. I don't like it. So I was like, all right, let me start doing these gear workouts. The first few times, and still to this day, kind of, but like the first few times I started getting in my gear, I was like panicking, dude. Like, not only are you in your gear and you're uncomfortable, but when you start doing endurance type stuff, it's like continuous reps.
Yep.
You're just working out, and there's like uh the inability for you to just stop and catch your breath like you do when you're bro lifting and you're going and you're repping. You induce a freaking panic because you're hot, you're uncomfortable, there's no reprieve. But really, if you think about it, that's our job.
Right.
That's exactly what our job is. You don't get to go charge into the burning building and then stop and sit on the couch and be like, all right, in 2 minutes, I'm gonna go put the fire out. And then after another 5 minutes, I'm gonna go do a search. No, bro, it's go. Like, get your shit on. That shit's heavy and uncomfortable. You better
Mm-hmm.
figure it out because you're not gonna be able to just rip your mask off in there. You can't call timeout. It's go. So
Absolutely.
I'm now a big fan. You don't have to do it every day. I know
No.
Marcus is a beast and he does it, but like, you get in your gear, whether it's at work or once a week, something like that, and just start getting comfortable with it because that shit is real and it's about the job. It's not about anything else.
No, definitely. And that's what I do. I usually do a gear workout once or twice a week. I wait uh so if I'm at home, I wait till after lunch because it's usually hotter there. Or, if I get up in the morning and I need to get it done because I have other stuff done, I get it done. I'm in it for anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour. I keep everything tight. And yeah, man, because what I've now experienced and noticed. So whenever it's hot now in North Carolina and we have like a drill or we have a call and I put it all on, man, it's like nothing. Like that heat buildup, that heat trap. Once you get used to that, it's like, okay, it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, literally, I'm wearing a sweatshirt when I'm on shift at work. Like, that's my uniform. I worked the other day and we did a move up, and some people are like, why are you wearing a sweatshirt? And I'm like, I'm wearing a sweatshirt and a long sleeve shirt because I want to get acclimated to the heat. And now it's like nothing. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be bravado, but that's just how I want to get used to it because
Yeah.
it's going to get hot. And once you accept that and embrace that, man, it's like nothing now.
Yeah, dude, I gotta give you props for your mindset, bro, because I mean, I know you keep chiming in and trying to explain to everybody, like, this isn't about your ego, your bravado, like
Mm-mm.
you're saying. This isn't about you being able to just rub it in other people's faces. It's just that you take this shit seriously and you realize how important it is. And it makes me want to touch on this topic, and I brought it up a little bit earlier, but I don't know if we addressed it fully, but it's like mindset when it's all on the line. Like, dive deep into that. What do you mean specifically with mindset? Because I know training and gear and all this stuff, that's a lot of mindset stuff too.
Yes, definitely. So my biggest key component of my mindset is which one's. Let me see if you can see it with my camera. That
Oh, your
right there.
family. Yeah.
That right there, dude. Like when I leave home, I'm always like, is this the last time? Like, I pull out and then I see my house and it's like, this could be. I don't know. So my mindset's different. I've been through, and this is not like a pity party because I know people that have been through way worse, but my life has taught me various experiences. I lost my mom to cancer. I watched her beat it, go into remission, and come back. And she looked at me and was like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And she passed away. But during the cancer treatments, man, there's nothing more gut wrenching or reality check when you're like, I was sitting next to my mom getting the treatment, and I'm surrounded by, you see little kids getting treatments. They have no hair, adults. There's something about, like, I can't complain about shit when there are so many other people out there that have it way worse. I lost my neighbor who was like a second dad to me and my sister because we played with their kids. He never came home from 9/11, and he worked on, I forgot which tower, but he was Department of Taxation and Finance. My man left for work, never came home that day. His his um his children are without a father. You know what I mean? Like, that was lesson one. And then I go through what I go through with my mom. That's lesson two. The type of calls and stuff I've seen where we can tell people, hey, we have successfully brought your mother, grandmother, son back. Or, unfortunately, I'm sorry, we've tried everything. Like, I'm not a big religious person, so, and I don't, and I hopefully I don't offend anybody that is, but, like, I definitely believe in God because of all the stuff I've seen. I don't go to church, probably as I should, but I have my own reasons there.
Mm.
But, like, I know He exists, and so anytime I look at something like fuck, like, why me? I sit back and I go, hey man, you don't have shit to
Yeah.
you don't have shit to complain about because there's people that have it way worse. That's my mindset. And I don't expect people to understand that, but that's what works for me because I've been through shit. I've seen my dad, like somebody I look up to, crying because he's getting ready to plan his wife's funeral. Like, I'm having to hold it together. That shit changes people. So whenever, and I kind of relate it back to whenever you have a new person that comes into the fire service and they're like, oh, yes, you're the pro, you ain't shit. Man,
Mhm.
you don't know what that person has gone through. You don't know their life experiences. Stop doing that. Like, treat them how you'd want to be treated, which is what I do. Like, I don't ever, like, yes, we have a new firefighter, but I'm gonna go mop the floors. I don't expect him to do it all. I don't expect him to clean the shitters. What I try to do though, I give him examples like, hey man, this is what you need to do, this, that, and the other. If you want to follow these steps, cool. If not, man, it's your world. But just know whatever happens, happens. So, I look at things like my chief, my fire chief, I don't see eye to eye with everything he does. But when I show up to work, the citizens expect that I'm on my A game. He's expecting that I'm on my A game. And so a flip side of that would be, I constantly hear people in my department complain about pay, right? And it's like, okay, pay this, pay that. We could pay better. We could do better schedules. We could do this, that, or the other. Okay. What are you giving? What effort are you putting to make yourself better for the fire chief to go across
Mhm.
to town hall and go, hey, listen, these are why my guys need this stuff. Instead, we're fucking sitting around treadmills for 45 minutes talking shit. We're looking not like the professionals that we need to be. Like, I hold myself to a certain standard because that's just the way my parents raised me to be. You know what I mean? Like, we need to look the part. We need to fit the part. And I told my wife this, like, before we met, before we got married. Like, she would see different characteristics of firefighters. And when I mean characteristics, I mean shapes. Everybody comes in different shapes and sizes.
Mhm.
But I told her, I will be damned if I look like that person. That's not gonna happen. Like, I would put in forth effort. I'm no Mr. Like, there are dudes that are jacked, bigger than me, stronger than me, but you will never catch me slipping. Not in this field. Not while I'm a firefighter here. I will every day, man. I grind day in, day out. Whether you like me or not, that's cool. Everybody has opinions. No sweat. I'm gonna do me. I'm fortunate with what I do, with what I've been able to create, man. I got people I can call you. I can call such and such. Like, I'm not alone. Some days I feel like I'm alone, but I'm really not. And then I just like go, wake up, man, get out of that. Like that's my mindset. First and foremost, man, my wife and my daughter, they are my priority. I want to come home to them. So when I go to work, I do what I have to do to keep my skills sharp. Unfortunately, though, we do live where we do a profession where we can do everything right and not come home. It's happened. It continues to happen. But at least I know when I show up for work, like my priority is the job. It's not my side hustle. It's not, ooh, this is a break from the kids. I'm going to go hit the bed. Or, I had a little bit too much last night. I'm going to just kind of just chill out today. That's fine and dandy. Like there are times where you can do that, but put forth some effort when you're on shift.
Man, I wish I could put a microphone in your hand so you can just drop that shit and walk away, bro. Because bro, that was beautiful, man. And the biggest takeaway I got from all that mindset, there's so many things I'm going to touch on that I picked up from that, but like the biggest one was your why, right? You show me your family on your phone, like you show up and you perform the way that you do because you want to be the best, so that way when you encounter those tough times on the job or those fires or whatever you go on, like you're gonna perform to the best of your abilities so you can get your ass back home.
That's right.
Right? If you're half-assing it and you're out of shape and you're not conditioned, and then you have a cardiac event while you're inside of an IDLH, and now someone's pulling you out and your family's crying over your coffin, like it's something to think about, dude. Is like, am I performing to the best of my abilities? Am I in the shape I need to be so I can get my ass home back to my family? Because I've seen it. You talk about your mom, and you talk about like maybe people that don't have the family dynamic that you do, different perspectives, and you just know that you want to be able to come back to your home so your daughter doesn't get raised without a father.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
dude, bro, that's so huge. And I think another thing that you were touching on is the way the community looks at us as firefighters with shapes and sizes and all that, standing by the treadmill. Scott Thompson talks about it, right? We're one or a few bad calls away from the community completely turning their fucking back on us and looking at us like we're the bad guys, right? We already have a couple in the books, but if we continue to let down the community and the citizens because we start making it about us and we get complacent and we get lazy, and the citizens, like you talk about pay, the citizens don't want to fucking pay us more if we're standing around and we look like fat pieces of shit standing by the treadmill. So, bro, last thing I want to touch on that is the tribe. You said you may feel like you're alone, but you know you got guys that you align with. They may not be inside your organization, but there are people that you're like, I know this guy's going through the same shit that I'm going through. Let me bounce some stuff off of him or her or whatever it is. And you built your tribe up. And so, dude, having your why, building your tribe up, and just understanding that if you want to ask for these things and you expect the community to view you a certain way, you better start carrying your fucking self that way. And that's a message for every single firefighter on the line, dude. And I appreciate you sharing that message with all of us. And I hope it resonates with somebody. And I will say it for you. You're not trying to be a dick when you say this shit. This is just what your mindset, this is what you believe, and this is how I believe every firefighter should have some perspective when they work for the fire service. Because if you don't believe in that shit, you can go work at fucking Google or Amazon or wherever, UPS, deliver packages, and the standard will be a lot lower for you. Well, there is a standard that you have set for yourself.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, you have a standard, and if people don't want to meet that standard, then maybe they shouldn't be in the fire service.
And unfortunately, we have people that don't. We have people that'll look at my standards and be like, "Oh, that's just dumb." I mean, to each his own, Like I am a firm believer on where an example would be I tell my firemen, which we haven't had it yet, so maybe tomorrow it'll happen. But I tell them, hey, if we are going to a first view potential structural box, when we get there, pull the hand line to the door, treat it like a structure fire. I said it takes 5 minutes to put the hose back, and he was like, well, what happens if you're not there and I have a different crew or whatever? I was like, so what? Just tell them I told you to do it. Like, we have to stop. I can't get how we call ourselves like professionals, but we don't really want to do professional stuff. And
Mm.
the best example I saw was so I subscribed to Emergency Nexus, and I saw the Christiana fire project that they did. Their fire chief Cowperthwaite, he said it best. He was like, when they get an automatic alarm, it's automatic for like when their engine gets there, they're going to stretch a dry line to the door. The ladder's going to get there set up, aerial. Like, why take, why not take the time to do it? Because, you know, he's like, if you arrive first on scene as a battalion chief and you cancel, like, oh, it's false alarm, you can cancel. He's like, you've canceled that experience for that firefighter to do that. And I'm like, it makes a lot of sense. But in this day and age, man, wherever complacency has made its bed, firefighters don't want to do that. Like if I were to go to another station tomorrow and not say anything and pull a hose line if it's a first two box, even with nothing showing, someone's gonna be like, bro, why'd you pull this line? Like we gotta pack it back up. Like, oh, I'm sorry. We can't just like why can't we do our job and just it's just the way to get better at it. I look at things differently. Some people might not agree with it,
Yeah.
but that's just the way that's who I've always wanted to emulate. That's what I continue to watch. So, you know, that's just what I continue to try to do. Like if I'm driving and we pull up somewhere, oh, them outriggers are coming out, bro. Like it's our scene, it's our show. I'm setting up. I don't care if traffic's blocked. This is our call. I'm going to treat it as such. And then I put everything away. Some people don't do that. And that's fine. But just know if I'm there and it's my truck for the day, that's what I'm doing.
Bro, and I think especially for a driver, that's something to be said for apparatus positioning, right? Like if you're not repping it out as much as you can and you're only doing it once a quarter to get your JPRs done, like you may miss that manhole cover that you parked over or something like that, or you may miss like the car that you're just too close to when those outriggers come out. You know what I mean? I love the fact that you're like, just put those outriggers out, man, or pull the hose. And yeah, I think once again, we're afraid of that criticism, right? The senior, I mean, it's hard as a junior guy to do something. And then a senior man comes down on you, not only tells you that or asks you why you pulled the hose, but they got a bunch of insults to throw at you too. And then when you get back to the station, they're sitting around the kitchen table and be like, look what this dumbass did on a call. Do you believe this shit? And everybody else starts chiming in and making fun of you. Like, once again, that's not every single firehouse, but you know, I think that's what a lot of us are kind of afraid of is we're afraid of that criticism from the senior guys and shit like that. And I'd like to see that go away as well.
Yeah. And definitely, you know, one of the saddest things, though, which I definitely know occurs, if you are that guy and you're labeled a senior guy and that's what you do, like you're just perpetuating that cycle for when that junior person now becomes a senior guy and they get the next junior person, they're gonna go, oh, that's right, this was done to me, I'm gonna do it back to you.
Yeah.
It's just a circle, man. It's just a bad circle of just character judgment flaws. Like be the person, be the mentor that you wish you had when you were growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like I was fortunate where I had, and now granted I had my fair share of people that were just like, oh, that's just dumb, we're not doing that, why are you doing this? And this is like, okay, you just kind of find the next person. But if we want to get good at the job, like we should encourage that. We should encourage, like, yeah, pull the hose, man. We'll help you put it back. It takes like 5 minutes. Or yeah, set the truck up for potential, you know, outrigger position, defensive, whatever you want to call it. Like, I just don't see why we continue to belittle each other. And that's why I say, man, that's why I'm to the point where I just don't say anything. Like, I'm not saying it's right because people are going to say, well, you know, people might not know how you feel if you don't say anything. You're right. But in my experience, these are the people that aren't going to change. You know when they will change? When something unfortunately bad happens.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And you know, like I love my department, but we have, in my opinion, I truly believe we have individuals that think they have the mindset of, oh, this will never happen in Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm good. Like, I don't have to check that thing today. I don't have to check to make sure the hose is correct. I don't have to check to make sure the Ritz cylinder's at 5,500. But God forbid, oh, we're only getting a 2% cola raise. That's fucking bullshit.
Can't.
I want this and that and the other, and the fire chief's not doing this for me, and whatever the case may be. Like, it's like, okay, you can't shit in one hand. Like, you can't have it both ways, bro. Like, I get it. There are things that I wish we could have, and things of that nature, but I'm going to make sure my job is squared away, because I don't want to look like that fool that when you show up to do something, well, if you checked it that morning, you would have known it was whatever, whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's just me. That's who I am, and that's who I try to just surround myself with people like that. I mean, this is the greatest job in the world. Like, act like it. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, because all I can see is we fail miserably. And let's just say last week I was just in the chief's office complaining about this, that, and the other. He has the right to go, now why the fuck should I stand up for you now? You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta give and take.
Mm-hmm.
But I just can't stand guys that come into work and just don't give a shit. Like, I don't like, I know you're not supposed to use that word. Like, I literally hate that shit, bro. Like, if this job is not what you feel like it needs to be for you, why are you here? Just go. You talk a big game, but you won't put in that 2-week notice to get the fuck out, will you? Nope. You ain't gonna do it.
And once again, it goes back to what that company officer is allowing in the firehouse, right? Like, you got this guy bitching and complaining and all this stuff, and you're creating this toxic culture, but not even the company officer is saying anything, because once again, you got that senior salty guy. Well, he's been around. That's just the way he is. Stop that shit, man. And you know what else changes the game that I've seen personally? Like, let's say that senior guy is berating the new guy for pulling a hose to the door. I don't ever want to see that shit again. All it takes is one other person. It doesn't even have to be the company officer. Be like, you know what? I like that he did that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Keep doing that shit. And that senior guy's gonna be like, fuck you guys. And then he's gonna go back to his recliner and then just fuck it, keep doing it, keep pushing it. Because I had Rob Fisher tell me this one time, man. Like, I started saying like, what happens when, the people above you don't hold people accountable, or they're letting this slack, or they're not invoking change or anything like that? And he goes, hopefully you just have more time left in your career than they do. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
well, okay, that senior guy, yeah, he's a 30-year salt and he's not really doing much, but keep pushing it, man. Keep grinding, keep putting the work in, and eventually that person's going to be gone. And like you said, you're going to be the senior guy, and this is where you start invoking the difference. You break that cycle.
Definitely. I'm 100% agreement. We, especially with what you said, man. Like, we can all blame our fire chief, operations assistant, deputy, whatever. But truly, man, company officers set the tone. Like, if we think about it, we're putting all of our problems on one individual who most of the time isn't actually in the firehouse. He might be when, like at headquarters, but this man is not riding the truck. The man or woman in charge, they're not riding your truck. They're not telling you what we're going to do for the day. Like, stop letting the little things. And that's one thing I had to learn. I did have to learn that. Like, I would let the little things of like this rule or this whatever kind of mess up my day. And at the end of the day, it's like, why? Like, they're not riding the truck. I am. So I'm going to learn to control what I can control. Like I said, we're all human. We're not going to always agree with each other on things. But one thing for sure is whatever decision they make will not take away my love for the fire service. I'm going to continue to do what I do, whether people agree with it or not. Like, it is what it is. I told my office from the beginning, hey, I'd like to do this where if we get a first due box that we're pulling up, I don't care if it's fire showing or nothing showing, a hose line's coming off. Are you okay with that? And he said, yeah, I'm fine with that. Like,
Cool.
it's just, you just do it. I mean, I don't know why we make things so complicated. We have keyboard warriors. We're always going to have trolls, man.
Yeah.
They're always out there. But I guarantee you it's because they either wish that they had that type of camaraderie, that feeling, that brotherhood, or somewhere down the line, man, their connections got messed up. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So like, I always take it back. I talk to lots of people down up in PG. I'm a huge PG fan. I love whenever like Kitland posts something and then someone's always going, oh, upside down or whatever. And it's just like, is that all you got? Like, you think those guys actually care
No.
that you're writing it? Like, no, just they keep it moving. But they show you what they're about through their professionalism, through their calls. So, like what you say doesn't matter.
It actually makes me feel better when guys that are doing shit at that level, like the Kyle Ramaguses and shit, right? They get trolled, because then I'm like, all right, if those dudes don't give a shit and they're still pushing it, like I'm not gonna come over here and get my feelings hurt when someone says something negative on my posts or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, whatever,
Right.
man. And it's once again, it's having that tribe. It's like, unless you are in my circle and you got something to say to me, like that's just noise, man. You're not someone I want to report back to me on my progress. You're someone out there chirping, like you said. Like they don't really say it to your face; they'll say it to you on your social media. But it's like, what is it, like the crickets, right? They're out here chirping, and then when you walk by, they get quiet. I ain't got time.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got time for that shit. I don't care.
No,
Yeah.
definitely. And one key advice that I'll say for others too is my circle, man, is very small.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ashamed to admit that. I am very cordial. I am open. If you have questions, I will help you. I will try to get you the answer. But like as far as who I like truly bring in, it's very, very small. And I'm okay with that. And everyone's different. So like I don't need to be around a bunch of people to make, what I mean, like to make me feel good,
For
if that makes
validation.
sense.
Yeah.
Validation.
Yeah.
Like my actions speak louder than words, you know what I'm saying? Because I like I tell people, all I have is my last name. That's it. Like the back of my coat, it says, Morals of Fire Department, Beauvais. Like that's all I have.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you like it or not, you can say, yeah, his personality wasn't, but you can never say like I was a shitty fireman or this guy didn't care, because when I show up to work, I give it all I got every day.
Yeah. One of the biggest messages I made recently was, you get those people that will fight you over sports, right? Whether that's like a Travis Kelsey or Tom Brady or whatever, and you're wearing their jersey and you got their name on your back and you're fighting people over that shit. But you won't fight someone for the name on your own bunker coat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you let people chip away at you and say negative things to you, and you fucking cower. Like, but you'll fight someone for Tom Brady. Like, take some fucking pride in the name on your coat, just like you're saying. I do everything that I do because of the name on my back.
Mm-hmm. That's all
Yeah.
you got, man. I mean, that's you're born in this world with your last name. So I'm gonna make sure, like I don't tarnish it. I want to build my credibility up, and I want people to be like, yo, like this dude was squared away, and that comes through growth. Like that's the only way. Because when you're young and you come into the fire service, man, you're gonna have those peaks and valleys of I know it all and things of that nature. But man, like as you get older, hopefully as you get older, you become more wiser. You start watching things. Like I'm always observing things. And so I'm quiet when I need to be, I'm vocal when I need to be. But like I'm always going to stay focused and committed on when I'm there for 24, like the community has my attention.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. Well, I got a couple more questions for you, man. We're coming up on an
Sure.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
We touched a little bit on it, but let's say, we're hitting at a lot of the stuff that a lot of people are going through in their own organization. What advice do you have to give? What advice can you give them on um, recharging the batteries, expanding their knowledge, and doing some of the things that maybe you did that flipped the script for you?
Man, go to outside training. Find a fire conference. And it doesn't have to be a conference where like there's hot classes. If you find a conference where it's all lecture, you can learn, but be around people that you'll be able to relate to. You're not alone. So when I went to my first conference, it was lecture and hot. So, I sat around, I listened to, which I never knew like there was this type of thing in the fire service, but I listened to captains and chiefs preaching messages like it's okay to stretch, it's okay to be out in the bay by yourself, it's okay to care about your physical fitness. Like just keep going, keep pushing. And when you take those outside classes, man, you'll learn different ways to do things, different ways. Like, bro, I don't know how many things I've learned that I have adapted to myself. So one thing I can say, here are a couple tips that I've done for me personally that helps me. And this is all going through outside training. I've learned my mask. When I keep my mask stowed away, I have a ball in it now to keep the form of the face where it's easy to throw. Cody Clark
Mm.
taught me about taping up my mask to save time. Some people might look at that as, oh my gosh, that's not cool. NFPA this, OSHA that. I don't care. It's all about time. That's what we're here for. Time for the citizens. So all I had to do is pull one strap. He showed me how to do that. I watched him do it with gloves and I was like, bro, like, what the fuck is this? So like I honed my skill and my craft and I got really good at that. RJ from Capital,
Mm.
I have a I don't know what the hell he calls it, but like whenever we're investigating a fire alarm, my mask is no longer dangling. I clip it up here using whatever hell he told me to use, and it keeps it up here and it keeps it from dangling. Um, just little tidbits, man. There's
Oh
so
yeah.
much, but like those are the things that have helped me, have shaped me, have helped me save time. Bro, I'm telling you, there's no greater feeling than when you can do everything with gloves on. Like I timed my mask up drill. Like my chief was there and he timed me and he was like, bro, like that's a good feeling when you can do your job and people are like, bro, like you put in some work and you're reaping the rewards. So I tell anybody, go to outside training, talk to different people, get out of your department, get out of because the thing with your department is everybody knows everybody. People are going to talk crap about each other. Like, get outside, find what I call like a breath of fresh air of listening to different people's ideas, different struggles, and how you can continue. So that is my number one thing, bro.
Oh yeah.
Outside training for sure.
Yeah, I love that, man. I don't know what it is about the outside training, fire conferences, hot classes, whatever. There's no fear of failure there, dude.
Mm-mm.
There's people from different departments, and no one's sizing each other up. They're just out there. We're all willing to learn
Yep.
versus feeling in your own house, right? And then you're worried about that pressure and all that stuff. But no, absolutely, man. That's exactly the message I tell people. That's what got me out of my rut. I went through a phase where I wanted to quit the fire service too, and I went down to Pensacola and did one of Chief Ike's conferences, man, and it completely changed the game for me. So yeah, great message. This whole podcast has been absolutely fire. Let's talk about. I know you got a small tribe, but let's say if anybody's got more questions for you, how can they reach out to you?
I'm on I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. Like you can always send me a DM or whatever through Facebook or Instagram. I mean, I'm very vocal. I'm very or not vocal. I'm very open and I'm very honest. Like I have my flaws. There are still things that I am working on. I consistently try to work on that. I tell everybody, man, I don't know it all. I don't ever claim to be. I don't claim to be an instructor, but there are certain things that I can teach an individual that I've learned through. But you have to me, the biggest thing that I tell people is nothing comes easy in life. Like you have to put in the work. You gotta sweat, you gotta grind it out in order to get good. And if you're at a point where you don't want to do that, then hopefully you can find a different avenue that you can take. But in my experience, man, we have people that are on the job that unfortunately they're on the job still because they haven't been pushed to that limit. They haven't been tested. I don't want my time to come where I'm tested and I'm not prepared for it. You know what I mean? Like there's always something I can improve on. There's always something I can learn. So that's just how I tackle every day, man. It's always something different that I want to learn and do. And I've been very fortunate to, well, when I started the podcast, man, the amount of DMs and emails and letters, handwritten letters that I've gotten telling me to continue. Because this is very well known saying like I'm a nobody. I'm just a guy that lives in small town USA that works for a small town American Fire Department that just cares about doing the job and doing it well for the citizens that we say, hey, we are here for you. We are here for them. So that's my end goal.
Hold up,
I'm
brother.
not trying to get rich. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to make a name for myself. I'm not trying to make a quick buck. If this podcast finishes in 2 months, then I'm done. At least I know I have paid something forward to a career and a profession that's given me so much. And that's what I want people to understand. Like, if my podcast were to go away tomorrow, it's not the end of me. Like, I have at least met people through networking and friendships, and I'm going to continue to do me. It was just an opening that I had an idea, and so far it's worked pretty decently, I'd say.
Yeah, dude, I love that quote, that final thoughts to close out, and just to piggyback on it, man. If anybody that doesn't know, Danny B gave me my first opportunity to tell the world what I'm all about. And once I'm the same way, I tell everybody I'm just a punk kid from LA, right? I kind of a nobody. I have my own, trials and tribulations that I've gone through, and I hope to continue to have this platform as well, and Danny's platform, for people to let the fire service know that you are not alone. You are not alone. Everyone goes through their journey, but the fire service is bigger. The brotherhood's bigger than what you think it is, man. So, Danny B, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is Relentless Rejects Podcast, episode 13. If you found any value in this show and you want to support Danny B at all, share the show with like-minded individuals, man. That's how we get the message out there, and that's how we make the fire service better. So tune in next time. Thanks for listening.